Because according to this piece from 1954, first published by the company I think that owned Ebony magazine here, the selling of the Negro, that's not so true in some of these metropolitan areas of the early 1950s. So what shifted from that time, 1954, to the time I came on the scene, 1984, 94, 2004, when I was coming of age? Let's go back in time and let's watch this piece. It's cracking me up like crazy. It would never obviously be produced today, but I think we can learn something from it. So let's switch over and listen to this piece and look at this piece here, and we'll talk through it a little bit together, and you can get my opinion.
I've got a story here that I think is big, really big, because it's bound to have a terrific impact on business. I'm talking about a new market, a big new market, millions upon millions of new prospects with $15 billion to spend. That's right, I said $15 billion. That's a lot of money, isn't it? The surprising thing is that it's a fresh market, still full of opportunities. It grew up so fast, got so big in a hurry, that few of us realize its scope. Now, these days, nobody's likely to pass up chances to sell. And yet right here in our own front yard, there's a neglected market. There's money waiting to be spent. To get the story of this market, to be able to tell you the secret of selling the Negro, we did a lot of digging. We talked to leading businessmen, the customers, and the salesmen. We went to Washington, D.C. We set up cameras and other key points around the nation. And out of this all, there emerged a story, the story of a new market. Yes, this is the market we're talking about, the new Negro family. Their name is Wells or Wilson, Smith or Brown or Alexander or Breen. They live in Chicago, in Atlanta or New York, in Detroit, St. Louis, Los Angeles, any one of 1,000 cities and towns. All over the country, families such as this are enjoying new prosperity. They have new interests, new standards of living, a buying power they've never enjoyed before. They're good prospects for practically all types of goods and services. All too often, though, they're overlooked prospects. Why? Because of some good, valid reason? No. They're overlooked because of mistaken ideas, because of out-of-date ideas about how the Negro lives and how he buys. The truth of the matter is that the Negro lives pretty much the same as other folks. He buys pretty much the same way, too. But just the same, a lot of old doubts and opinions keep cropping up over and over again.
I don't like to do business with Negroes. They're drifters. You can't keep track of them.
Yes, although a lot of people think that way, the truth is that 1 out of every 3 Negro families living in cities today owns its own home. That figure comes directly from the United States Bureau of Census.
Maybe so, but Negroes are poor credit risks.
Not more of a credit risk than any other group. Actually, the Negro home buyer meets his payments faithfully, often more faithfully than other race groups in the same economic level. That's the information we got from people who ought to know, the National Association of Real Estate Boards.
Well, maybe, but I've always heard that Negroes buy shoddy, poor-quality merchandise.
No, it's just the other way around. According to leading researchers, in proportion to population and income, Negroes buy more quality products than any other comparable United States group. You see, there are a lot of confused notions about the Negro customer. But when you dig right down and find out about them, they just don't hold water. Negroes own homes. They meet their payments faithfully. They buy good brands of merchandise. So why let a lot of old-fashioned ideas hurt profits? Take a look at the real facts. Here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, some amazing facts and figures about this new market have been uncovered. For a first-hand report, we would like to take you directly to the United States Department of Commerce to hear this story from the Secretary of Commerce himself. Here is the Honorable Sinclair Weeks.
Okay, let's pause there for a second before we get into Sinclair Weeks. The selling of the Negro. First off, I know you guys out there were kind of smirking the whole time like I was when I found this piece, thinking about the wording, the orchestra in the background, all that type of thing. But let's get down to some things that we can use today and some practicalities of understanding what was going on here. Over the course of the Jim Crow era moving into the civil rights movement, right, of the proper civil rights movement proper, 1955. Bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama, where my folks live now, actually, moving into the 60s, where the laws got changed. Civil Rights Act 64, 65, 68, fair housing, things like that. Things are starting to shift in the world of big bureaucracy post-World War II. And we're seeing that boom happen right here. My grandparents are part of this era when they're coming up in their teenage years, 1954. So we're looking at this, and according to this generalization in this film, we're hearing that the Negro family, the black family, is buying quality. They are purchasing homes. They are living in single family units together, nuclear family, mother, father, things like that, having children. So is that the same environment that we have now as a majority, as the rule? Is there something going on in our media that's telling us otherwise? Is that how your family is set up? Are you a hard worker, and are you a nuclear family? Are you raising children in the home? Are those things going on? And then when we talk about economics, are you buying quality merchandise? Are you credit worthy? And when I look at this, I think, man, I think there was something a little bit different going on by the time I came around. This isn't really the story that I heard from the media, whether or not my family kind of fit that mold. But that's not what I thought. I thought the best way to be able to make it in life was to be a solo standout performer. Once again, we're talking about entertainment. We're talking about sports, play football, play basketball, things like that. And that's the way that you become wealthy. And it is all depending on your personal performance and your way to manipulate yourself into a position that someone else could not have. It's either I make the team or you make the team. It's a dog-eat-dog type situation. And the haters will just be in your way. You've got to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps or your own Reebok pumps, right? Y'all know what I'm saying out there. Or is there a better way to come about economic success and wealth? Is that really in a nuclear family, in a single household? Is it by owning a home? Is it by purchasing quality goods? Or do you just keep the money by purchasing maybe shoddy stuff so you can have more dollars in the bank? What is wealth, and what does that look like? I think that many of us have been fooled into thinking things because we've consumed so much of this outside environment, and we haven't been able to make wealth happen on the inside first. And when you're happy and healthy with your family, with picking the right partner, having your kids in the home, and moving out from the internals, you'll mess a lot of things up. So what is it that are the fundamental things that you want to put together before you get out there in the marketplace and decide to trade money for goods? What does wealth really look like in success? You're going to have to accumulate wealth somewhere so you can distribute it, trade with it, and pass it on to your family and friends. Over the course of the last 60 years plus, since this time, 70 years, we have seen a lot of changes in the economic market. Housing prices, two-parent families are now both working. A lot of families are not, there's not a nuclear family going on in the house, but there are children. Maybe there's no children at all. People aren't having families. A lot of things change for sure. And a lot of those influences are on the outside. But does that change the fundamentals and the standards of where wealth comes from at all? And of course, then how do you interact and bargain with those people in the marketplace? That's what this film is all about, of course. So we're going to go back up to the government right here, and we're going to see what this guy has to say as we close things out. Here it is.
Secretary of Commerce of the United States. Here is what sales psychologists have to say about selling to the Negro.
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important one. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Do you wonder why? Well, listen to what this customer is thinking.
That last hat I bought just didn't hold up at all.
You see, for a long time, the Negro has been sold a lot of shoddy, second-class merchandise. So now he asks for name brands in order to make sure he gets his money's worth. Buying by brand, that's the first important Negro buying habit. Now for the second. The Negro buys good quality merchandise. Symbols of quality and prestige are very important to the Negro customer. This woman, for example, is buying fine crystalware, but she is also buying the admiration and approval of her friends and relatives. Listen to her thoughts.
My, isn't it beautiful? I can hardly wait to show it to Sally and Joan.
It's a well-known fact that many Negro customers are influenced by the opinions of others. What their friends may think of a certain item often decides whether or not the sale is made. So remember, the Negro buys quality merchandise. That's the second important point. And here's the third thing to remember when selling to a Negro customer. When he specifically asks for one thing, don't try to sell him something else. Don't try to switch him at the point of sale. If you do, he'll probably react something like this.
Doesn't he think I've got the money to pay for it?
There's a reason for this reaction. Again, because he's had experience with cheap merchandise, the Negro resents being offered a substitute. He wants to be sold on quality, not price. The Negro buys by brand, he buys quality, and he doesn't like to be switched at point of sale. These are the keys to selling the Negro customer.
There we have it, folks. Okay, selling to the Negro right here. Brand quality and doesn't appreciate the old switcheroo. How far are you or how close are you to recognizing or kind of continuing this thought pattern? Is this true for you? Do you think it's still true for the average family? Moving into the second quarter of the 21st century at this point. It's amazing that we've got stuff that is, quote unquote, this old and that we can reference back to in our world of so much media at this point. I wanted to think through this mindset with you for a little bit and try to rediscover who you are and why you are that way in terms of mindset and culture when it comes to wealth and it comes to money. So that's exactly what we continue the conversation around throughout the month of July in 2024. If you're with us at about this time, you can join us live with Denzel Rodriguez. Denzel Rodriguez is a YouTuber, a financial coach, a great one-on-one strategist for people. And we've teamed up for this event called Cash Cultures Collide each and every Thursday within the month of July. If you can't catch us live, of course, you can hit the replays of those experiences where we walk and talk through how in the world did we get here as a mindset, as a culture, and get down into me fundamentally. How did I get here? What do I need to do about it? Am I in the right place? I'm here. You're here. It's not always my fault of what has happened around me, but how much of what has happened around me has gotten inside of me? That's what we're talking through. And we're trying to help people reestablish that mindset, that dominion, and that foundation so they can move themselves forward and be all that they could be who God created them to be, turn their families into opportunistic and fortunate people. So that's what we're here doing this summer at the Cash Compound. If you've enjoyed this, share it. Give us your comments and thoughts about how you've gotten here, some of the resources that you've seen from yesteryear that have brought us to this place. And remember, if we put our money in the right place, more money does not actually equal more problems.
You are now tuned to the banking bros. Said we couldn't make it, drink or settle, this the life we chose. Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer, we taught you how to be the bank.